Greetings, blessings, and good fortune, everybody. Happy Thursday. We're here for another iteration of the Bitcoin Otter Show on 97.7 FM, KCYP, the city, out of McAllen, Texas, the McAllen Creative Incubator, ladies and gents. We are here, and we are happy to be here. Thank you very much for tuning in. If you're here already, I'm going to get in right now and see if there's any comments. Also, if you're seeing this on Friday or Saturday or sometime in the week, or maybe even further along, we are December 7, 2023, and happy to be here. So let me go in so I can see the comments, and we'll go from there. A ver. And there we are. Got to get my volume down. And that was up. We don't want to go down. There we go. Okay. Now, I've got some interesting things to talk about today. But one of the things that came up in the pre-show, right? I was talking with Renee and I was talking with Joe and Joseph too. We were talking about that today originally was Day of Infamy. In 1941, the Japanese Empire attacked the United States in a place called Pearl Harbor. Now, most of us older people will know this as a matter of fact and a matter of course because, well, we learned it. We learned it in school, and we learned it as I wouldn't say it was a rite of passage because it wasn't anything that had any other accoutrements to it. Nothing was really tied to it, but we all learned it. It's one of those things that you need to learn as part of the U.S. history curriculum. Okay, now, what I would like to say and what I would like to share with you, and I have no problem coming up with source material for this. Not a problem at all. We are at the most an hour-long show, so I'm not going to go into it here. But if you were to contact me at bitcoinotter.media@gmail.com, I'll give you all the source material that I could come up with, and then some after more time when I dig in a little deeper. However, we were discussing that the Pearl Harbor attack was, of course, premeditated on the part of the Japanese. But what many of us don't realize is that it was completely known by our communist leader, maybe call him a globalist. We'll be generous today. FDR. He knew about it, ladies and gents. They knew about it. Our upper echelon knew about it. So as I get older, I not only rehash what it is that I've learned, but I look into other sources, other accounts of historic events that I was taught from only one perspective, because after all, I am an American and we are known to have won that war. Therefore, we, as part of the alliance, the allies, so to speak, got to write the history on it. What happens, though, inevitably, I would imagine, never been, in a school system of another country, but I would imagine that any country that wins a war teaches it exactly how they want it to be taught and exactly along the lines of the way they saw things or the way they were told things had occurred. So when I say that the Japanese were known to have imminent plans to attack Pearl Harbor, I mean that's why there were only the older ships in Pearl Harbor at the time, and we had kept our carrier groups out of Pearl Harbor. So there's a lot to that. I know it sounds pretty inflammatory, if you will, and no pun intended after what they did. But I just would like to throw that out there because there's a lot of people who have such blind faith in our education system. They have such blind faith in the repetition of historical facts. Yet, if we don't dig deeper, if we don't scratch beneath the surface, there's oftentimes truth we're going to miss. And if we miss truth about history, well, then we're doomed to repeat it, right? So a lot of us have theories on 9/11. And wow, there is so much information there that lets us know that it was premeditated and most likely an inside job. And many people can wrap their heads around that because it's a modern, so-called modern event, right? Over 20 years now. But some of us, like me, I lived through it. So I remember the gamut of emotions, if you will, of wanting to kill all those people over there, because that's where we were told that it occurred, that it was initiated. But in reality, once we dug in and once we began to learn and look at things with, how would you say, suspicion, to be more circumspect about the whole issue, which we're learning now, ladies and gentlemen, some of us are, and we're called conspiracy theorists because we don't accept the word of officialdom. So we look deeper, we look wider, and we look for the truth. Sometimes it is what they say it is, but most of the time it isn't. So here we are today, December 7, 2023, on an infamous day that I would love to go over the ins and outs of the Pearl Harbor, the attack on Pearl Harbor, but I haven't prepared for that today. So maybe for a different day, or perhaps even next year, we could have something along those lines, and maybe we'll have a some sort of a show that will enumerate the big lies that we've had to endure as a country by the forces that have unfortunately ruled over us way too long, and hopefully will stop their reign in about a year. Now, as per usual, we're going to go through the barometer of our economy, which, if you may or may not know, is in the crapper. Yeah, for a technical term, it's in the crapper. Yeah. So gold earlier today was $2,042 an ounce, silver $24.05, and Bitcoin, in case you have not been paying attention, is on a roll. You guys been paying attention to this? Renee, Joe, Joseph, come on. This is amazing. So earlier today it was $43,128 for one Bitcoin. Average mortgage rate, 30-year is at 7.66, and the 15-year rate is at 6.84. All right, so that tells you we're not in really good times as far as the U.S. dollar goes. But if you're interested in Bitcoin, wow, it's going to go even higher. Maybe wait for a pullback. I might wait for a pullback. I'm not a financial advisor. I have no tie. I merely have a shirt, and we were talking about this earlier. I believe that the Buffalo Bills are the best bad team in the NFL. Just an assessment. So this is from Bitcoin.com. Bitcoin hit second highest transaction day amid price surge. Record influx of ordinal inscriptions. Ordinal, fancy name for new transactions. People who are transacting on the Bitcoin blockchain that have never done it before, if I'm not mistaken. Otherwise, it was a big day. The second highest day for transactions on the Bitcoin blockchain. What does that mean? It means a lot of things, and they're good. So Bitcoin.com goes on to say Bitcoin marked its second most active day for transactions on December 3rd, just a few days ago, 2023, as the cryptocurrency's value soared past the $40,000 mark. This surge in activity comes closely after the record-setting day of November 19, 2023. So these are two record days, okay, less than a month apart, and we now know that we are poised. We Bitcoiners, if you want to say that, are poised for some big things. So in November, Bitcoin miners validated 710,579 transactions in one day. So 710,579 people transacted business. Well, there were different transactions. So there might not have been that many people, but that many transactions. And then 707,876 this last Sunday. So more and more people are looking at Bitcoin. More and more people are purchasing it, moving it around, and you can be one of them if you want to, but only if you want to. Here's a good one. El Salvador triumphs in Bitcoin bet. President Nayib Bukele announces $3.6 million profit. Now, if you remember, I have gone over this a few times, but El Salvador has done something that is remarkable. They have made it so, Matt, good to see you. Maria, good to see you. And Renee, how you doing, Renee? Haven't seen you in a while, brother. Hope to see you one of these days. So, El Salvador did this. They used their abundant natural resources, in this case, dormant volcanoes. So these dormant volcanoes give off gas, vapor, whatever you want to call it, and it's pressurized. So they harnessed that and they allowed it, they meaning Bitcoin miners, had it turn turbines. Those turbines created electricity. That electricity runs Bitcoin miners. The Bitcoin miners gather Bitcoin, and it now belongs to the people of El Salvador. They can build schools, hospitals, roads, bridges, infrastructure, and they don't have to go to the evil sons of bankers, okay? They don't have to go to them. They don't have to pay interest on loans to the banking cartel. They don't have to do it because now they are actually financing their own infrastructure using their own natural resources. Yay, Bukele! I'll tell you what. I would rather have Bukele 7 days out of 7 than Grandpa Mushmouth we have in Washington, D.C. And I would wager that Bukele has never done anything nasty on the Pope. Like, Captain Joe has. So, neither here nor there. El Salvador's head of state, Nayib Bukele, recently announced that the nation's Bitcoin investment has turned profitable, rebounding from a prolonged period of losses. Now, you got to imagine that they had to invest in the miners. They had to invest in the machines that will harness the vapor. They had to do a lot of investment. And now it's just beginning to pay off. So they're, $3.6 million in profit, right? But what you may or may not understand is that they have given out phones. They've actually given out cell phones, and they're using Bitcoin to interact economically. They're selling and buying in Bitcoin. Great thing there in El Salvador. I'm sure the Western banking cartel is pissed off, but they're on the ropes anyway. Bukele revealed that the value of the country's cryptocurrency holdings has risen by 3.6 million based on current Bitcoin exchange rates. It's a good thing for them, right? Lord willing, it will be for us one day too. Now, you don't have to wait for the government to get in on things because they move at the speed of government. We move at the speed we choose. So if you want to choose it, hit me up. bitcoinotter.media@gmail.com. I'll get back to you. Digital assets worth $343 million stolen from crypto exchange platforms in November. That's just November, ladies and gents. Digital assets, okay, that's a lot of different things. It could be cryptocurrencies, could be NFTs, could be whatever, but they're stolen from crypto exchanges. What is an exchange for those of you that don't know? An exchange is where people go to buy and sell cryptocurrencies. So on these exchanges, what you do is you open up your own account on the exchange. Now, you have wallets for cryptocurrencies on those exchanges. They are called your wallets, but you don't own the keys. The keys are code words that allow you to open up these wallets. Those belong to the owners of the, sorry about that. They belong to the owners of the exchanges. Now, these exchanges have been under attack because cryptocurrency has been under attack, right? It's not just Bitcoin. There are hundreds of thousands of cryptocurrencies. Now, the fact of the matter is that if you leave your cryptos on someone else's exchange, even if they call it your wallet, your account, it's susceptible to being hacked, stolen, forfeit, frozen, you name it. So always, and this is one of the reasons why I went into business, is that people need to know you bring back, if you do go to an exchange and you use an exchange to buy cryptos, you bring your own crypto back to your own wallet that you keep. And you have what are called the keys. You have the code words to that account, that wallet, because you are now the bank. You are the bank. And that's what's awesome. Marcos. Oh, I did some research, Marcos. I know what the status of reporting is on the Hawaii thing, and I'll get into that. But I don't know, unfortunately, where those kids are. Thanks for saying nice shirt. But like I said a little bit earlier before you got here, Marcos, the Buffalo Bills are the best bad team in the NFL. I had to say that again. Anyway, $343 million stolen off of the crypto exchanges, right? So, according to a new report by immunify, whatever. The figure includes digital assets and fraud, hacks and fraud. Hacks meaning they get into the back door or whatever of the account or the the exchange, or fraud where they send you an email and you click on a link and then they have your information, and or they make contact with you and you somehow give them those keys. They say that, hey, there's a problem with your wallet, there's a problem with your account, we're going to need to look at this, that, or the other, we're going to need your keys. Never ever let anybody ever get those key codes. Again, I can help you with this stuff. bitcoinotter.media@gmail.com. So before we go into another how would you say rundown of some of the evil people doing evil things in our country and our world, I want to go through two, because you know by now that the Bitcoin Otter Show is a nonprofit private membership association, a faith in God nonprofit, right? As is 97.7 FM KCYP The City, Joe's station here in the McAllen Creative Incubator, nonprofit. So I very much enjoy throwing in some very small, I don't preach, a couple Bible verses that show us exactly where we're at in time, because time is nothing to God. He tells us way back when what's going to happen now and in the future. So I'm going to read just two quick ones. This one's from Hosea, the book of Hosea 4:6. My people are destroyed for a lack of knowledge, said God. My people are destroyed for a lack of knowledge. And then Psalm 112, and this is the good part. Even in darkness, light dawns for the upright, for the gracious and compassionate and righteous man. So when we talk about our news here, we don't talk about gracious, compassionate, or upright men. Normally, they're evil sons of guns. Yeah. Normally, they're real nasty. Like this guy I'm going to talk about right now. So Matt says, buy a cold wallet. Yes, exactly. A cold wallet. What does that mean? A cold wallet means that it's off of the internet. You have a cord, USB, and you connect it to transact. You disconnect, and now it's offline. Nobody can get at it because there's no connection to the internet. That's the cold wallet. Hot wallet is something that's on the internet or an app on your phone, okay, or on your desktop. I can help you out with all that stuff. But Joe, I got to say it again, everybody, because Joe is a big Bills fan. And I think Joe would probably agree when I say that, yes, Joe, the Buffalo Bills are the best bad team in the NFL. Sadly. Right, Joe? I mean, you got to admit it at least one, because they beat this guy up, man. The guys at work beat this guy up. Oh, merciless, because he's very vocal about the Bills. Me, I've learned to tone it down because I've got four in a row Super Bowls under my belt, and it's not comfortable at all. So, having read those two verses, especially the one where it says, even in darkness, light dawns for the upright, gives us hope, right? Because people are destroyed for a lack of knowledge. We won't be. We won't be, because we'll have knowledge. Now, if we're destroyed, even though we know it's coming, that's one thing. But we are not lacking in the knowledge department. Knowledge of what, Otter? Well, Zero Hedge says, Hunter Biden sent direct monthly payments to Joe. We all know who Joe is. Via, not Joe, the Bills fan, not that Joe. Via account paid from China and other shady corners of the world, says Zero Hedge. Today, the Oversight Committee, the House Oversight Committee, is releasing subpoenaed bank accounts that show Hunter Biden's business entity, Owasco PC, made direct monthly payments to Joe Biden. This wasn't a payment from Hunter Biden's personal account, but an account for his corporation that received payments from China and other shady corners of the world. So shady corners of the world give shady money to shady people. And since the shady Biden crime family has up to 20 shell companies, there's a lot of shade there. Now, don't get me wrong. We have other crime families to be concerned with. The Bush crime family, the Clinton crime family, the Obama crime family, okay? The Romney crime family. And who is that notorious vice president? Cheney. the Cheneys. So it means little, be they Democrat or Republican, very little red or blue. Doesn't matter, okay? The global cartel is a criminal cartel. It's a criminal syndicate, and it's worldwide. We know about this. Jeff is watching. Good to see you, Jeff. So we know that this is going on, but we also know that it's getting exposed. I doubt heavily a year ago we'd be able to hear about this stuff, right? So what do I make of that? I believe that we are well on the way to the Great Awakening. What is the Great Awakening? The Great Awakening is when we have reached a critical mass of people that have previously been sleeping to this, been dormant, if you will, watching with glazed eyes, the 1,000-yard stare into their television, believing what it is that those, for lack of a nice word, people are telling them to believe. Okay? They're not real people. I mean, yeah, sure, they're flesh and blood, but they're bought, they're sold, they're property, right? So they tell people lies because they're paid to tell lies. That's the mainstream news. That's who they are, and that's what they do. But we're not buying that bunk anymore. We're just not. So why do I think that we're coming closer? Because these things are out. We wouldn't have seen this before. There's no way that we would have seen it. Jim, good to see you. Jim also comments on the shirt. I'm glad there's so many Bills fans out there. Let's see what happens this week with the Chiefs. We could get Mahomed. I don't know. Anyway, New York lawmaker claims smoking gun in New York City migrant voter fraud scheme. Cheating in New York elections? Perish the thought. On page 50 of this contract, there is an entire section dedicated to voter registration, says Representative Nicole Meliotakis out of New York. On Sunday, after she and 4 other Staten Island Republicans claimed a city contract with a nonprofit. Oh, those nonprofits, right? Now, we were just talking about nonprofits, but we are much different. They all say that. You say, but you know us. Hired to run a Staten Island shelter includes a stipulation. Listen to this. This contract with a nonprofit that's running a Staten Island shelter includes a stipulation that voter registration forms are to be distributed among asylum seekers. So we see that asylum seekers, okay, these people, many of them military aged from, enemies, countries that are sworn enemies to the United States, such as, China. Tim, good to see you, Tim. And what they're doing is they, being the usual suspects, are supplying them with voter registration forms. Gee, do you think they might vote? I mean, I'm not allowed to say this, but maybe they're illegal aliens. And if illegal aliens are allowed to vote, doesn't that mean that other countries are meddling with our elections? I could be wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. But if they come into this country seeking asylum under bogus pretenses, then they're here illegally. That I know. We're going to find out, ladies and gentlemen. And I believe it's going to be okay someday. Just maybe not today or tomorrow. We just got to have patience, ladies and gents. Patience. Silver looks like a real bargain right now. This is something you really want to know this, right? So the silver to gold ratio is something we've talked about before. Now, if we go into thousands of years history, the silver to gold ratio has traditionally been, throughout thousands of years, somewhere around the range of 12 to 20 ounces of silver to buy 1 ounce of gold, right? Now, it's been more in the modern times, somewhere around 30 to 40 ounces of silver buy you an ounce of gold. But right now, we're at 81 to 1. So 81 ounces to buy you an ounce of silver to buy you an ounce of gold. What does that mean? That means that if and when precious metals go up, and in a big way, silver will go up faster and more violently, in a more volatile fashion, okay? Which is good news for us, working men and women. Why? Because right now you could probably buy an ounce of silver, even though the spot price, as I said earlier, is $24.05, you're not going to get any silver for that price. You're going to get silver probably around $30 an ounce, right? So probably about 25% markup. But we got to pay the people that bring it to us. Anyway, what I'm saying is, think about it. Think about silver. Think about what it could help you with if banks go under, whatever happens, right? So remember the non-financial advisor, right? There's no tie here, ladies and gentlemen. It's just a bill shirt. So I believe that land, gold, silver, and Bitcoin are all options if you have the money for land. I personally don't. So I don't have land. But I don't have a lot of the other stuff either. But we're working men and women. Try to get out of the storm, guys. One of the ways is silver, because it's not that expensive right now. Not that expensive. Yet, it's still going to be valuable when everything goes in the crapper. Why is it not expensive? I'll take this opportunity to tell you. The usual suspects, those are Western central bankers, suppress the price of gold and silver using the commodities markets, the futures markets. Why do they do that? Well, if people were to see a spike, a large and high spike in gold and silver prices, they might come to the correct realization that the underlying price in dollars means that the price in dollar means that it's not doing so well. The dollar is not doing so well and it's devalued, which of course is what's happening to us every single day. Our dollar is being devalued because they're just pumping more and more of it out there. So they suppress the price of gold and silver by using paper contracts in the futures markets. Don't want to get in too much, but they sell, and you can do this in the futures markets, right? They sell contracts without having the underlying asset. They sell contracts tanking the price in the futures markets. That goes then into the actual physical markets. It's a scam, ladies and gentlemen, a scam. If you have the time, I'll send you some stuff, bitcoinotter.media@gmail.com. I'll send you plenty of stuff if you're interested. So, suffice it to say that it's rigged, like so many other things, right? Rigged is the gold and silver market. But there's a chance for you to get some silver, is what I'm getting at. So, about halfway through the show, maybe a little more, we're going to go over a rundown. Matt, they keep silver and gold low so the crooks can hoard it before it goes up. Exactly. But here's the thing, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Matt, for bringing that to my attention, because this is part of the reason why I have this show. The little guy, since the advent of the book, any book, but especially the Bible, little guys have had the opportunity to have knowledge. Now, the Bible, in my belief, is the truth. Books after the Bible, a little dicey. But now that we have the internet, we know there's a lot of lies in the internet. We know there's a lot of half-truths. We know there's a lot of bunk. But there is information there. And if you know how to sift it, you can learn things. And once you learn things, you know. We as little guys now know how these shysters work. Just like Matt said, they hoard it. Have you looked at, and you probably haven't, but if you care to try, you look at how much gold China has been hoarding and ask yourself why. Look at how much gold the banks, okay, these shysters that I'm talking about. I'm not talking about the friendly neighborhood guy on the corner, the branch president, the local bank president. I'm not talking about these guys, okay? I'm not talking about I know some of them. They're good people. Literally, one of them is one of the best men I've ever known. I need to talk to him one of these days, and if I do, I'll tell you about it. I'll probably keep him anonymous, but those are not the guys I'm talking about. I'm talking about the Morgans, the Mellons, the Rockefellers, the Rothschilds, all those rats, okay? They own the criminal syndicate banks. And if you own the banks, what can you not own? Anyway, once we figured it out, now we have the opportunity. I don't have money to get, to become a robber baron or to become a slumlord or whatever these people do. But I can hopefully prepare my family, at least my family, for hard times. And so can you. We can do this because we have knowledge. We have foreknowledge of what's to come because these rats do things in a familiar way. They're unoriginal, much like Hollywood. That's why you have 6 or 7 Rockies. They're not very original, these people. Mingo, good to see you, Mingo. So, all that to say, if you can get some silver, you get some silver or Bitcoin. Maybe on a pullback of Bitcoin. I think there's going to be a pullback, right? We still have some more time. 2024 is a big year for Bitcoin, ladies and gents. A big year because we have the halving. I've taught on that before. I've mentioned it. I brought it up. Maybe I'll bring it up again. But right now, I want to go on a recap. So we've done a few things, right? What have we gone over today? We've said hello, greetings, blessings, and good fortune to all of you. And Bitcoin hits its second highest transaction rate. LSAL, they are making now a profit, 3.6 million off of their own resources. Remember we talked about the dormant volcanoes, how they're turning that into Bitcoin. Digital assets were stolen from the crypto exchanges, which we know that none of us will leave our crypto on the exchanges, right? Right. So Hunter Biden sent direct monthly payments to Joe. We know that. They're crooks. Lawmaker says that in New York City, the asylum seekers now are registering to vote. Yeah. Silver looks like a real bargain. Yes. Now here's one. Here's a good one. We'll come back into what I want to talk about. But you know what? Now that I think about it, before I forget, because I'm a forgetful guy, my age and so forth, we're going to go into what Marcos had asked me last week. And I told you, Marcos, that I would look this up, and I did. I looked up the Hawaii fires. Now, yes, many of us conspiracy theorists believe that it was deliberately set, and it was deliberately set by what are called direct energy weapons, DEWs, DEW. So these energy weapons can set, like, let's say your oak tree out front of your house. Boom, they'll set it on fire, and your house is not on fire, or vice versa. So you'll see a neighborhood where you'll see burned down house, not burned, burned, not burned, burned, not burned, so to speak. Cars burned. And then there was the other one where blue. Maybe it's a good idea I'm wearing this blue, because blue, for whatever reason, is in the color spectrum that the DEW weapons don't react to, something like that. Anyway, conspiracy theories. Look into it if you'd like. If you need some sources, bitcoinotter.media@gmail.com. Now, Marcos, I found that nobody really wants to talk about the kids, and it's to this extreme. Remember when they said that there were like 1,000 people missing from the Lahaina? I don't know exactly if that's the pronunciation. Lahaina, Maui fires. At one point, I think there was 1,000 missing, and many of them being children. And they had reported that the kids were sent home from school, but the parents weren't sent home for work, so there were parents in the home. I got none of that, Marcos. I got none of it. Nobody is that I could see. I didn't dig. I dug 3 pages in. Ladies and gents, if you want to know truth, you got to go pretty deep in Google, because Google is all about hiding the truth from you. So I went into some other search engines and I looked, but there's really not a lot out there about it. I would probably have to find someone who's actually there on the ground, but they're not allowing people, or if they allow people to go into their houses again, it's not for a long period of time. So it's difficult, and I hope that somebody local, and I can imagine, I mean, remember the Las Vegas? Matt, you remember that. You and I used to talk about that, how the Las Vegas shooting, they actually gathered a group on Facebook of the survivors were telling stories about multiple gunmen and so forth, and these survivors were ending up dead. In fact, an alternate swimmer for the Olympic team, a woman, she drowned. Yeah. Who would have thought, an Olympic swimmer can't swim? That's the kind of thing that these rats do. I think they get off on that stuff. They really think that's funny, right? By killing somebody in a pool who was an Olympic swimmer. Things like that. Anyway, a lot of people got killed because they spoke up. So I would imagine that it's very dangerous if you're a local over there. And there weren't that many people in that area, but they had been there for generations, right? These are what are lovingly called by the left indigenous people, right? They're supposed to be the best of the best. Now, I subscribe to a version of humanity where we are all equal, but the leftists don't, because they believe that somehow poverty confers nobility, that somehow a person who has been in a place for a long time is better than any person anywhere else. That's just the way they are. And I'll back that, and I'll stand there one of these days if anybody wants to come and debate me about it. That being said, they, meaning the residents of Lahaina, if that's how you pronounce it, were decimated. And as, call me a conspiracy theorist, I'm a truth seeker. I believe it was not an accident. And Matt agrees 100%. So, I'm sorry, Marcos. I did do some legwork. I didn't come up with anything. I think the claim right now is 4 people. Out of the 1,000, I believe it was, 4 people are now known. Well, are assumed missing. So that's not good math. But we know how these people do math. If I find anything else out, I will be sure to announce it here on the show. The Gateway Pundit says, Argentina, I love this guy. If you've seen a video of this Javier Milei, the new president, or he's going to be the president or MP of Argentina, something like that, prepares a shock package of legislation for his very first day. It's a social contract, he says. While Chainsaw Milei, I like that, has somewhat softened his rhetoric and changed a few names on his team, apparently he intends to enact meaningful reforms and repeal a voluminous body of legislation in his very first act after the inauguration on December 10th. That's coming soon. If you don't know what the heck I'm talking about, Javier Milei is the new libertarian leader of Argentina. This is going to be amazing because he's coming out with fire and brimstone, ladies and gentlemen. This guy, oh man, if you've seen some videos, he's ripping off whole departments of government off of a board and just screaming, afuera, afuera, afuera. He's just getting rid of all of these departments that do nothing but suck tax dollars. They're parasitic on the society. We've got plenty of that, ladies and gents. Plenty of that. So, on another note, Federal Appeals Court sides with pro-Trump meme maker Douglas Mackey. Now, if you haven't heard of this meme maker, Jason, good to see you. And Marcos says thanks. You're welcome, Marcos. I appreciate the comments. I appreciate you guys digging stuff up and giving me an opportunity to come back with what I found, even though in this case, unfortunately, there wasn't a lot to be found. But again, I'll keep you updated if I find something different or more additional. So I don't know if you guys remember this guy, Douglas Mackey. He made a meme, and the meme consisted of I think it was interactive on some level where you could hit a check mark on something. And he had basically said that, yeah, you know, if you want to vote for Hillary, this was 2016. If you want to vote for Hillary, you don't have to go all the way to the polling stations. All you have to do is vote right here on your phone. Okay. It was a meme. It was a joke. Okay. Because he didn't think that there were people dumb enough to believe that you could vote on your phone. Surprise, surprise, surprise. Those people exist. They exist. They thrive. They thrive in leftist circles. So they're apparently more erudite members of the communist faction took offense because they thought that, yes, they do indeed have enough ignorant communist plebes that would believe that you could vote on your phone. So they prosecuted Mr. Douglas Mackey, a.k.a. Ricky Vaughn. Remember Ricky Vaughn from the Indians, Cleveland Indians movie. Somebody throw it up there, Matt. I know you know that. Thanks, Jason. Reminds me of what we used to watch or listen to on Midnight Shift. Yes. Oh man, I grew up with Art Bell and George Norrie. Man, those guys were great. So Omar, good to see you. Haven't seen you in a while. So when these communists that had, you know, a brain cell or two that connected, and they realized, wait a minute, this guy could have brought great swaths of our communist minions to vote on their phone. We can't have communists voting on phones because then their votes would go nowhere. I mean, they'd make it up with dead people and so forth. They'd make up those votes. But the fact remains that someone successfully trolled the communists. So what do I mean by prosecution? I mean serious prosecution, man. They took this guy to court. He was sentenced to 7 months in prison in October for trolling Hillary Clinton during the 2016 election. Mackey was facing a maximum of 10 years in prison for speech crimes, says the Gateway Pundit. Speech crimes. Things that are protected under the First Amendment are no longer protected, apparently. So Mackey was indicted in January of 21 by the feds. Yeah, the feds took this up because we know what side the feds are on. It ain't yours. Thank you, Omar. The Bills suck. Go Cowboys. All right, Omar. Major League. Thank you, Renee. Thank you. I needed that. So Ricky Vaughn was the handle that this guy Mackey had when he did this meme, right? So Ricky Vaughn was the pitcher for the Cleveland Indians in Major League, played by Charlie Sheen. It was a great movie. One of the best sports movies ever made. Probably top 2 or 3 best. Now, along with that, of course, would be Slapshot if you're into hockey. And even if you're not into hockey, watch Slapshot. You'll love it. So this guy, he was indicted in 21 for using the social media platform to spread election disinformation. Where do we bump into election disinformation? Is there such a thing? Don't get me started. Don't get me started. We don't have enough time for me to go rolling on that. NPR. This is from NPR. And why would I publicize anything from an outlet like NPR? New York Republican George Santos expelled from Congress. Okay, guys, apparently this George Santos guy was not on the up and up. Perhaps he wasn't. How many politicians are? NPR. How many are? Santos is accused by prosecutors of a number of financial misdeeds, including reimbursing himself for loans to his congressional campaign that he appears to have never actually made. In essence, stealing money from campaign donors. Oh, is that all? Stealing money from campaign donors. Isn't that like Politician 101? Here's what really happened. He didn't learn how to hide it. He's one of those guys. You know, he knows how to take it, but he doesn't know how to hide the deed, the act, the crime, if you will. Nobody took him under their wing, patted him on the backside, gave him a good game. Georgie, this is how you hide it. This is how you do it, Georgie. Nobody taught him that. So they ousted him. Why am I highlighting this? Because I think in some ways it's a good thing. Have other people been ousted this way? Yes, they have. They have. Expelled is what they call it. Why am I bringing this up? I personally believe that this is going to set precedent, like many other things that are going on in our day. Precedent. Not president, because that guy's vacant. But precedent. It's happened before. It's happening in the modern time. So expelled, I guess 6 people have been expelled from Congress throughout, the history of our country. But this one is one of the few in modern times. So they got rid of this guy. Why is that significant? Well, people voted for this guy. He is a representative of people, his constituents, somewhere. Somebody voted for the guy. So when you expel, if you're a politician and you expel a representative, you are basically stealing from the constituents that wanted that guy there in the first place. They now don't have representation. Okay? Our country is based on equal representation in the halls of justice, which are, awash with injustice right now. But anyway, I digress. So, precedent. Now, if they can, let's say, expel a George Santos, doesn't that mean that someday they can expel a Nancy Pelosi, a Chuck Schumer, right? A Mitt Romney, a Liz Cheney? She's gone anyway, right? That's what I mean by precedent, okay? They are now actively indicting, almost incessant indictments, right, of a political runner okay, a campaign by a political potential, okay, a candidate is being side railed. It's being derailed. It's being deconstructed, or at least it's attempted to be, due to indictments by his rival in America, ladies and gentlemen. They're threatening this guy, Donald Trump, with jail. Now, if you ever want to see a squeaky clean government employee, you check the guy who's been through background checks again and again and again. You check the guy that has been indicted again and again and again and come out unscathed. And who is that? That's Donald Trump. The cleanest government employee here in the United States of America, possibly the whole world, is Donald Trump. They have nothing on the guy, 0.000 any bad stuff. How do I know this? Because he would have been in jail already. He would have been in the hoosegow had they had even a tiny bit. They put this Massey guy, right, for a joke, a meme. They're putting him in jail. You don't think they would put Donald Trump, the enemy of the criminal syndicate of our time? You don't think they'd put him away if they had the chance? Hell yeah, they would. That's how I know he's that clean, because they got nothing on him. But yet they're crying of election interference? Huh. Yeah. Good one, huh? So all that to say that if a George Santos can be expelled, so can Adam Schiff, Shifty Schiff, okay? These people. A Joe, I'm incontinent, Grandpa Mushmouth Biden. A little bit more difficult, right? Maybe, maybe not. But the fact remains, precedent has been set, ladies and gentlemen. Be ready for a wild ride in 2024. A wild one. We're going to go on a wild ride, but we are not going to be unprepared, ladies and gentlemen. We will not be scared because we're going to be prepared, right? We're going to have some monetary difficulties, but we can prepare so that when the bottom falls out, it won't be just the fat cats that can scoop up some good deals, right? Maybe we'll be one of those people. Maybe not so fat. Maybe some of us a little fatter than others. You never know. Anyway, what I'd like to say is thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. And again, if you want to know some of the things and how I learned, and yeah, Jason, a lot of it was coast to coast, man. That was a great show. I don't know about it anymore. I usually I like, there's a lot of other stuff, but John B. Wells has a great show. It's called Caravan to Midnight. If you guys are into that kind of thing, I am. But he's the torchbearer right now, I believe, in Midnight Radio. Anyway, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for stopping by, as it were. Throw me some stuff if you want. I think we may even have an interview with some local people here next week. We're gonna give it a shot. See if it comes up. You know, we can schedule it right. But you guys want to learn about something from a different perspective, let me know. I'll dig it up from, maybe a direction that we haven't looked at before. Or if you have any suspicions, or heck, you want to talk about something yourself, we've got an open invitation here. Okay. We'd love to have some of you guys on the show that have things that you want to talk about too. And if not, you don't want to be on, that's fine. Send me an email, bitcoinotter.media@gmail.com, and I will either dig the stuff up or I'll showcase what it is your perspective is. Then I'll give my own spin on it. Not spin so much, but an opinion, which probably will agree with you. But thank you very much for tuning in. Thank you very much for watching us and listening to us on 97.7 KCYP, the city out of McAllen, Texas. Thank you for watching us on YouTube and on Facebook. Have a great week. God bless you. God bless your families. And take care of yourselves. Bye.